From well-meaning cosmetic fixes to radical experiments that scare off nearly all buyers, each entry exposes how personalizing your vessel can turn it into a financial trap. We will trace the progression from upgrades that make your boat harder to sell to irreversible changes that can make it unsellable. Which so-called improvement does the most damage? Let's begin the countdown with number 10. Number 10 on the list is the dark blue hull paint job. It looks stunning on launch day, navy or black hulls gleaming in the sun, promising a classic, high-end aesthetic. But beneath the shine, the numbers tell a different story. Dark hulls absorb heat, running up to 20 degrees hotter than white. That extra heat accelerates blistering and stresses the gel coat, which means more repairs and more polish just to keep up appearances. The maintenance bills climb, 15% higher on average compared to white hulls. Salt and scratches stand out like a spotlight. Brokers see a dark hull and think maintenance nightmare. Yacht World data shows these boats take 10 to 20% longer to sell, and buyers often negotiate the price down to cover future upkeep. The only saving grace is that this mistake is reversible. A vinyl wrap can buy you time, or you can repaint if you are ready to spend $5,000 to $8,000. Cosmetic, yes, but it is a hit to liquidity you will feel at closing. A plywood hardtop over the cockpit seems like a practical upgrade, shade, shelter, maybe a spot for solar panels. But once the screws go in, you've just loaded the boat with a heavy, boxy structure that changes everything. The center of gravity climbs. Handling gets sloppy in a crosswind. Brokers walk up, glance at the roofline, and mutter that it is heavy, homemade, and tippy. The lines of the boat vanish under a slab-sided box, and every buyer knows it is not factory. Labor to remove a do-it-yourself. Hardtop and restore the original look runs $6,000 to $10,000 at a yard. The value hit is real, 10 to 15% off the asking price, just for a project that looks amateur. Buyers see Frankenstein carpentry and wonder what else got hacked together. The only thing worse than installing it is paying to take it off. A proper bimini is light, removable, and keeps the boat's stability and resale intact. Ripping up a teak deck sounds like a fresh start. No more splinters, no more endless scrubbing. But when the job skips core repairs and jumps straight to a coat of kiwi grip or paint, you have just created a lumpy, uneven mess that screams cover up to every broker and surveyor. The real damage is not just cosmetic. Underneath, water intrusion can rot the balsa or plywood core, turning the deck into a sponge. Surveyors do not need X-ray vision. A soft spot probe and a few taps with a mallet tell the story. Buyers know what is coming next. A negotiation that starts with how much to fix the core. The answer is rarely less than $8,000 and sometimes $12,000. That is, if you catch it early. Wait too long and the repair bill climbs. The market penalty is steep. Boats with botched deck jobs lose up to 20% of their value and listings linger unsold. A proper fix means repairing the core before any paint goes down. Anything less is just hiding the problem, not solving it. The minute a set of household recliners replaces the factory settees in a boat salon, the buyer pool shrinks. Those fixed benches are not just for comfort, they are sea berths designed to keep crews secure underway. Pull them out and you lose more than sleeping space. The storage tanks and systems tucked underneath are gone. The structure that keeps the boat's interior stiff and safe is compromised. Now those plush lazy boys might feel like home at the dock, but offshore they are a hazard. Unbolted furniture becomes a missile in a storm. Surveyors call this out immediately. Loose heavy objects in the main cabin are a safety violation. Brokers see a living room, not a bluewater cruiser. The damage is financial too. Boats with recliner conversions take a 25% hit on resale value. Restoration is expensive. Expect $8,000 to $15,000 at a reputable yard to rebuild the settees, reinstall storage, and bring back the original function. Every buyer who walks aboard and sees a living room setup asks the same question. How much will it cost to put this right? The answer is always more than you expect. For anyone tempted to swap out the settees, remember, comfort at the dock can cost you the sail at sea. A stainless steel residential fridge might look like an upgrade, shiny, spacious, straight from a home improvement catalog. But the minute a dorm fridge slides into a boat's galley, you have just plugged your asset into the dock permanently. The numbers are brutal. A typical household refrigerator draws between 200 and 500 amp hours per day. That is more than most battery banks can handle unless you want to run a generator around the clock. The result? The boat can't leave the marina without dragging a gas-guzzling generator along for the ride. Buyers know this. The minute they spot a household fridge, they start doing the math. How long can I anchor before the food spoils or the batteries die? For most, the answer is walk away. Brokers report that 1 in 4 buyers will not even make an offer on a shore power-dependent boat. Listings with residential fridges routinely sit unsold for 6 to 12 months longer than factory standard models. The label sticks, Dock Queen, and the fix is not cheap. Restoring a proper marine fridge and rewiring for compliance runs $4,000 to $7,000 if you are lucky. As one broker puts it, this is not a cruiser anymore, it is a condo. Every hour that fridge hums at the dock is another hour your boat's resale value melts away. Swapping out a propane galley for induction-only cooktops is one of the fastest ways to shrink your buyer pool. The logic feels modern. Ditch the gas lines, install a pair of sleek electric burners, and call it progress. But every broker knows what happens next. Redundancy is gone. With propane, you have a backup when the batteries run low or the inverter trips. With induction, you are betting every meal on the battery bank. A typical induction setup can pull 300 to 600 amp hours just to boil water and cook dinner. That is more than most house banks can deliver, unless you have already spent 5 figures on lithium and inverters. If the batteries die, you do not eat. 70% of buyers want propane as a safety net. Survey after survey confirms it. They trust a gas flame to work when the weather turns and the batteries fail. Electric-only galleys are a deal killer for anyone planning to anchor out or cross an ocean. The fix is simple. Keep the propane lines capped and in place, even if you never use them. That way, the next owner can restore redundancy for a fraction of the cost. Boats with induction-only galleys routinely take a 15% hit on resale value and linger on the market while buyers look for a cruiser, not a floating apartment. If you want to cook at sea, do not bet the galley on batteries alone. The composting toilet swap is the upgrade that slices your buyer pool in half with a single decision. It sounds eco-friendly on paper. Rip out the old pump-out head, ditch the holding tank, and drop in a desiccating unit or a bucket. But the numbers are brutal. Boat show logs from Annapolis and Dusseldorf tell the story. 55% of buyers walk away the moment they see a composting head, and spousal vetoes run 2 to 1, with women rejecting these setups twice as often as men. Brokers have a nickname for this, the deal-breaker bucket. The psychology is simple. Most buyers do not want to handle human humus, and the idea of emptying compost at sea or in a marina is a non-starter for half the market. Yacht World data shows that after a composting head install, the buyer pool drops from 65% to 35%. Every step away on the dock is another lost sale. The fix is not painless either. Reverting to a factory standard marine head with new hoses and a holding tank runs $2,000 to $3,000 in parts and labor. Every broker keeps a mental list of listings that sat unsold for months because of this single upgrade. For most buyers, the only thing worse than a pump out is a bucket. If you want to keep your options open, make sure any composting system is bolt-on and reversible. The market is clear, half your buyers just walked off the dock. A lithium battery upgrade promises freedom from old lead acid banks and endless generator hours. But the reality for most do-it-yourself installs is a mess of mismatched cells, tangled wiring, and a fire risk that scares off buyers, surveyors, and insurers alike. The numbers are clear. 35% of owner-installed lithium banks get flagged during pre-purchase surveys, usually for missing a proper battery management system, no BMS, no integrated protection, just a handful of drop-in cells wired together like a science project. A BYCE 13 sets the minimum standard for lithium installs, but most do it yourself. Jobs do not come close. Surveyors spot it in seconds. Household cable instead of marine grade, no main fuse within 7 inches of the battery, charge sources dumping power with no regulation. The risk is not just theoretical. Insurers have started denying coverage or tacking on 5 to 15% surcharges for non-compliant lithium systems. In some cases, a single thermal runaway incident, an overheated cell, has led to a denied claim and a $50,000 loss. Brokers know the pattern. A buyer sees spaghetti wiring and a pile of unlabeled batteries, then walks. The price drop matches the remediation bill. Ripping out a bad lithium setup and rebuilding to ABYC spec costs $10,000 to $15,000 on a typical 35-foot boat. Some shops will not even quote unless the old system is gone first. The only way lithium adds value is with full integration, professional documentation, and a clean survey. Anything less, and you have turned your boat into an insurance headache and a resale disaster. Pulling out a diesel engine and swapping in a 10-kilowatt electric motor and a lithium battery bank is the upgrade that brokers dread most. On paper, it looks like progress. Quiet running, no fumes, green credentials. In reality, you have just traded a 400-mile range for 40 miles, on a good day with perfect weather and a full charge. The boat that once could cross to Bermuda now cannot leave the bay without a recharge plan. Buyers see it instantly. The range anxiety, the dependency on marinas, the loss of redundancy. The buyer pool collapses to less than 10%, just the handful willing to day sail near a charging station. Everyone else walks. Yacht World listings with electric-only propulsion sit for 18 months or more, unsold, as sellers wait for a buyer who never comes. The financial hit is brutal. Owners spend $20,000 on the conversion, only to watch the resale value drop by the same amount or more. Brokers report diesel reinstall quotes running $18,000 to $25,000 if the original engine is even available. Every surveyor flags the missing diesel as a functional downgrade, not an improvement. The only safe way to experiment with electric is a hybrid. Keep the diesel, add a bolt-on motor, and make sure the next owner can go back to factory standard in a weekend. Remove the diesel and you have locked your boat into a niche so small it is almost unsellable. In the end, the numbers do not lie. You paid to shrink your buyer pool to single digits and turned a bluewater cruiser into a marina toy. That is not an upgrade, it is a self-inflicted wound. Cutting or opening a structural bulkhead is the fastest way to turn a seaworthy cruiser into a total loss. On modern production sailboats, those full-height bulkheads running from hull to deck are more than partitions. They are the ribs of the boat, carrying loads from the mast, rig, and hull. The entire stiffness of the vessel, its ability to resist flexing and twisting at sea, depends on those bulkheads remaining intact. Both ISO 12215 and ABYCH 1 standards define these as primary structural members. Once a bulkhead is cut or perforated, the boat no longer matches the structural assumptions it was designed and certified under. Insurers and surveyors see this as a major red flag. The moment a bulkhead is altered, the boat's compliance with CE marking ABYC and the builder's original scantlings disappears. Insurance forms ask directly about structural modifications, bulkheads, keels, chain plates. Failing to disclose a change is grounds for denial. Disclose it, and most underwriters will refuse hull coverage beyond coastal waters or decline coverage altogether. Surveyors use precise language. Bulkhead has been modified and no longer complies with original design scantling assumptions. Recommend full engineered repair before offshore use. That is insurance code for no blue water, no payout if you break it. The economics are harsh. Ask any reputable yard the cost to remove and rebuild a full-height structural bulkhead on a 40-footer with a naval architect's approval and all cabinetry and liners restored. The answer starts at $20,000 and climbs. Composite technicians charge $90 to $150 an hour. 200 hours is common once demolition, grinding, fitting, and interior rebuild are included. Add haul-out, blocking, engineering fees, and materials, and the bill lands in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, sometimes more. On a 25-year-old cruiser worth $80,000 or $90,000, that is flirting with constructive total loss. Insurers know this. If the repair cost plus salvage value exceeds the insured value, they will write the boat off as a constructive total loss and walk away. There are cautionary tales. One owner of a 42-foot production cruiser wanted an open-plan saloon and cut a massive archway in the main bulkhead. The next buyer's surveyor flagged it as a major structural deficiency. The yard quoted mid-five figures to restore the original bulkhead and interior. The insurer paid out and took the hull as salvage. That boat, once a blue water cruiser, became a science experiment no broker would touch. To a broker, a cut bulkhead is the nautical version of removing a load-bearing wall without an engineer. Most serious buyers walk away. The boat is, in effect, technically totaled. No cosmetic work can hide the fact that the backbone of the structure is gone. If you want to destroy resale value in a single afternoon, grab a saw and start cutting bulkheads. The fix will cost more than you imagine, and the odds of finding a buyer drop to nearly zero. Across all 10 upgrades, one truth emerges. Every irreversible customization shrinks your buyer pool and accelerates financial loss. The market values factory standard, reversible, and compliant features, nothing else. Today, the most passionate personal projects become tomorrow's hardest boats to sell. In boating, liquidity trumps individuality. Your asset's value is protected not by what you add, but by what you choose to leave alone. Tell me, what's the worst upgrade you've ever seen?